So, Jim, you are from, well, you've put the Nexus night together for, I don't know how long. You've done about, what, 44 of these, something like that? When did you start?
Yeah, 44. We've kind of, that's kind of a combination of the radio and the live stuff.
Yeah.
Since lockdown time, we used to have like separate numbering for live and radio stuff, but it's all merged into one now. But it's about 3 years. I think the first one was June 2017.
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty much bang on 3 years. We should have done a birthday thing, but didn't.
So anybody who's not been to a Nexus night, could you just give us a bit of a flavour about what Nexus is all about and how you kind of started the whole thing and why you went into it in the first place?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we were homeless for a little bit. Basically, me and my other half moved to Chester just over 3 years ago, about 3.5 years ago, and it was pretty simple. There wasn't a techno night. There were dance music nights, but they were all like huge things in the main room at the live rooms, really studenty. And we're kind of like old school ravers. The ones I'm not knocking the nights that were happening, but they were all like phones in the air, dancing at the DJ like a big gig, and it just wasn't really our cup of tea. So we thought we'd throw one. The first one was in the side room of the live rooms, and yeah, it was fun. Just kind of a little place. Not super keen on huge clubs. Somewhere like the Warehouse Project is like just like a nightmare, to be honest. So somewhere with like fewer than 200 people, ideally. Big, sort of, basically we sat down and came up with a big list of our favourite things from various places we've been to in the UK and abroad, from like recently and sort of back in the day. So we were quite keen on the no phones or no photos policy.
Yeah.
It's a really fun one. So kind of like sneak that one in. Accessible door prices. We've never charged more than a tenner for a ticket.
Yeah.
And a pretty regular crowd was what we were aiming for.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's got a really nice feel to the room that you're doing it in as well, there, because it's got a really, I wouldn't say cozy. That makes me sound as old as I am, because I came to a Nexus night about 2 years ago with Rob Dixon, and we were there, and I said, I'm going to go to a techno night, and I haven't been to a techno night for years, so I put myself a purple shirt on, a pair of slacks, and I turned up looking like everybody's dad. And then there's one guy just came over and said, are you on duty? You look so much like the look of a policeman. So anyway, but that's why I shouldn't use the word cozy. But the room is just perfect for it. It's got a really great feel to it. The acoustics are fantastic, but the acts that you have on are just so good as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of the aim, really. It's like one of the things we said when we were sitting down was it's just got to sound good. Like the artists have got to be brilliant, and it might be someone we've got in, someone we sort of paid a headline fee for, or it might be someone from like 2 miles away, but they've got to be decent, and the sound system's got to be good, and the space has got to be good. So luckily we sort of own our own sound system, so we can sort of tweak. That's a handy thing in sort of making the price accessible, because you're looking at 500 to £1,000 to hire a decent sound system. So we've got that, and we can give that a tweak and beef it up. So I think the sound system's been slightly different every time. Right. It seems to keep mutating into this huge thing. It's kind of mostly stacked up behind me underneath the decks at the moment. It's double GT as furniture. But
I hope you got your TV and everything all routed through that as well. So when you're watching The Shining or something like that, you've got it there rattling the doors.
Oh, it's so tempting when the kids next door are having a house party till like 3 a.m. The temptation just to rack it all up and sort of whack on some gather, and then take the dog for a walk is pretty high, to be honest. But yeah, so it's got to sound good. So it usually does.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sound is superb there. And again, we were talking before about diversity, and you guys are so big into diversity on those nights as well. So could you just talk us a little bit through that and what you're trying to do with the diversity through the Nexus nights? Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of club nights, certainly in Manchester, Liverpool, and previously in Chester, where all the DJs look the same. For a start. So there's a couple of things with the diversity. Number one is get a range of people behind the decks. I think there's amazing DJs of every stripe, and if you're a woman or you're black or you're LGBTQ, it's harder to sort of break into the thing where you get presented to people. Yeah. So when you get emails from agents and stuff, a lot of the time it's sort of 25-year-old white straight blokes. and some of them are amazing, but there's equally amazing people from sort of other groups that just maybe take a little bit more digging. So I mean, I think we've been in the position when we haven't been doing free entry parties where we've had a bit of cash to get headliners in. I think we've booked like one sort of white straight bloke, and the rest of it has been, you know, like queer people or black guys or whatever. You know, we're not like reducing the quality, but it's just
I know exactly.
it's digging in a little bit, because you want the crowd to turn up and sort of see themselves represented behind the decks as well.
Yeah.
Really, I think that's super important. You know, I sort of DJ'd a lot between sort of 18 and mid-20s and kind of knocked it on the head because it was just seemed like a really sort of stale kind of thing. Yeah. So it was quite important for us to sort of support the local scene, definitely. And the demographic around us, it is what it is. But if we can put our money where our mouth is and sort of book people who are a bit more varied, whilst keeping the quality, that's kind of the aim, really.
Absolutely. So if there's anybody who's out there from any one of these varied groups, how would they get in touch with you guys to see if they want, if they're interested in doing something with you?
Yeah, pretty much just through any of our socials. So we've got our own website where everything's sort of tied together. So that's nexustechno.co.uk. And that's got links to all our sort of Instagram, Facebooky, Twitter things that you have to have these days. But we're pretty responsive on messages. Yeah. And then we've got the radio show as well, which is like 3 hours a month. So that's pretty useful for, people who are a little bit further away, especially in lockdown.
So again, for the radio show, they can access that through your website, can they? Yeah.
They can, yeah. That's all. There's a link to our SoundCloud on the website, and it goes out on Techno FM, but then it goes onto our SoundCloud afterwards. And it's pretty much just 3 mixes in 3 hours. It's like one of our residents, someone from local-ish area, and then probably someone from abroad or a little bit further away. So we've got someone from South Sudan on our next one.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's amazing. She's brilliant. There was a little boiler room from Anti-Mass in Kampala, which was like it's a kind of queer non-binary party out there, and she's awesome. She's one of my favourite DJs, and she said yes, so I'm like super psyched.
Amazing. Well, talking about DJing, you've put together a fantastic mix for us tonight as well. So what you've done is you've kind of delved around through a series of episodes of Modulate TV, and I think there's 9 songs that you've pulled together.
I think it's about that, yeah. So I think it was Rob who very kindly sort of sent me through some of the tracks that had been sort of played out. Yeah. Had a sort of delve through them, and they sort of naturally fell into. There's one sort of very down tempo kind of end that I've kind of had a bit of a play with, and then a slightly sort of faster sort of crunchier end. Yeah. And I was in quite a bad mood today, so I went for the went for the crunchy one. Needed some cathartic BPMs. So yeah, I think the one I sent through, that was version 2. I don't really like planning mixes. Yeah. Even for live sets, I'll sort of like. We went and played abroad a few times last year, and everyone's like, "Oh, you planned?" And I was like, "I sort of know my first 2 tunes." Yeah. So you just give everything a listen before it, and then sort of put it together after that. So yeah, it was
came
great.
Together really nicely, because as we were talking about before, it kind of starts off a little bit more, not mellow, but just a little bit slower. Then it gets grittier and darker as it goes in, which I just really enjoyed that movement that it went through.
Yeah, it was a really fun one to play with. There was such a range of tracks that came through. Yeah, it was actually really, really fun to play with.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to give a quick shout out, actually, just everybody that's in that mix, just because you might not know the ones that are in it, anybody who's there. So Citizen Fly Me, that's me, that's Citizen Fly first. And then we've got Etch Your Sketch, Andy Peggs, we had Tune Girl, Isis Murray, Rob Spall, Dave Julian, Ross Alexander, and Harry Walker. So those were the 9 different pieces that were put in there. So Jim, I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you tonight. It's been really interesting to find about Nexus, find out about how you've put this together. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. It's been loads of fun being on. Cheers for putting the mix on, and cheers for chatting.